Hello everybody. Many of you will agree that Minolta X-700 is a very good little camera. It's practical, it's compact, and it's fairly simple to use. However, most of you who are familiar with this model will also agree that one of the most infamous issues that plagues this model is a faulty capacitor issue. So in today's video, I would like to demonstrate the process of not just simply replacing capacitors, but also the process of cleaning, or the way I clean the PCB board that also causes an additional issue to the faulty capacitor issue. So what we've got here is my personal Minolta X-700 camera. I've gone ahead and replaced the capacitor on the top portion, again, just to remind those who are interested that there's two capacitors that typically leak on the newer model of the Minolta X-700 camera. One is right here on the circuit board, and another one is over here. Okay, so two capacitors need to be replaced. Now, in addition to that, I do receive quite a few cameras, X700 cameras, where the owner of the camera has attempted to replace the caps, which they have, and properly installed it, but the camera still exhibits the same issue of not being able to release. So what happens is that these capacitors, aluminum capacitors, they tend to, in addition to failing, they tend to leak the chemical residue. Okay, you can actually probably see some of it here onto this PCB board. So what happens then, it basically shorts out the entire circuit, whereas even if you replace the capacitor, it will not help the camera work again. You still have to do one of two things: either to replace this PCB board and install a new cap, or remove this PCB board, clean it of any residue, dirt, or anything that could prevent it from properly operating, put it back together, resolder all the wires, and that will basically rectify this problem. Okay, so in this video I'm going to demonstrate how I do this. And back in the day when we had plenty of parts for this particular model, I used to order this PCB board and just simply replace it. It would simplify my work much more than nowadays. So in any case, so this is in fact the bad cap, a leaked cap. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by, first things first, removing the battery. Okay, I'm gonna put this little rubber stand here so you can see better. Okay, so next thing, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna desolder these wires, and obviously I know where they go, so I'll be able to place them in the correct spots. But for those who will try to do it themselves, obviously take a photograph or take a note of all of these wires accordingly. All right, so I'm gonna mark this cap, kind of, put a little notch here, which I already know anyways which way it goes. I'm gonna desolder it, put that away, and then I'm gonna continue removing these wires one by one. And you'll actually notice as you are removing these wires, there's going to be a distinct smell as this residue that is on the capacitor and on the board gets heated up. It produces a really unpleasant odor. So if you have to, just wear a mask too, because I don't think it's good for you, let's put it this way. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove all these wires one by one. There's a lot of them. Let's just put it this way. Some of them share the same color, and usually those wires on the bottom that share the same color, they have the same access point, or point to where this they go on the board. Okay, let's see here. I think everything has been desoldered. So the next thing I'm going to do, I am going to loosen up this plate here. And by the way, this plate right now is in a pretty good shape. I do see some residue here, but not as bad as on some other cameras that I get regularly. So this is not really that bad. A lot of times you'll see a lot of corrosion around this area as well. So that tells you that you have to probably do a little more than just a basic resoldering for sure. It just requires a deep cleaning of that board. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and lift it up. There's a spring here, but you have to be aware of it. Just remove the spring. That's what I'm gonna do, and then there you go. Here's our plate here. Okay, we have two contacts from the battery chamber here that we're gonna separate. There you go. Now we freed up our power plate, or pardon me, PCB board, power circuit board. What I'll do next, I'm going to use my separate board here, so I don't damage my mat, because I'm going to have to heat it up and desolder everything. The first things first, I'm going to remove this diode and make sure it's got a green notch, little identify mark here. Make sure you are, if you're removing it, you are placing it correct polarity, with the correct polarity. So what do I do next? I'm going to position it at an angle that's easiest for me to work with. All right, so all these soldering points I'm going to desolder using a desoldering wick, and then I'm going to go ahead and chemically clean all these points. It's a tedious process, but that's what probably takes the most when we get these cameras here. Removing and cleaning these power plates. It's not simple, it's not easy, but replacing caps in most cases does not do the job. You have to do that. And sometimes it may work for a little bit if you just replace the cap, but eventually that excessive residue, chemical residue, will take its toll and lock it up again. All right, now as you can see, I've removed it. There's quite a bit of flux here that I will get rid of again. Here, using my solution of water with denatured alcohol. As you can see, there's dirt here combined with chemicals. It's all on it. So I'm gonna proceed with this process carefully and several times until it's pretty much clean as from the factory. All right, so it looks good to me. Now one other thing that I want to make you aware of is that a lot of time, depending on the extent of this damage, these traces might be affected or damaged as well. So you might want to visually inspect these traces, make sure they go from point A to point B, or from point A to point B to point C. Okay, there's multiple areas where the wires can get connected to them. So everything seems to be correct here. There's no damage to any of the traces. Okay, and you can use a continuity meter to measure it from here to here, from here to there. Just visually inspect where they have to go. If there's no continuity, you may need to, or I may need to, whoever's working on it, jump a little wire from point A to point B to resolve that issue. But for now, let's go ahead and proceed. So right now, this board has been cleaned. As you can see, it took me about 5-10 minutes now to clean it out. Now I'm basically gonna work my way back. I'm gonna reinstall this diode next. So I'm gonna place a piece of solder here. There we go. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and take my power circuit board and bring my camera back, and we'll resolder these wires that I removed earlier. Reorganize these wires by direction. I'll secure this board with this one screw here for now. There we go. It's going to be easier for you to see and easier for me to work with at this angle. Okay, so I think these wires here are now all in place. Rearrange it a little bit better so we can put our battery plate in where it's supposed to go. All right, so now we're gonna position the battery plate, secure it with one screw here. Now there's two prongs here that we need to solder from the battery plate. And then most important wire, which is the power wire, the red one, attaching it to the PCB board. There we go. And last but not least, we've got a new cap that we'll put it here. All right, so all of our wires are back in their respective spots. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one screw so I can place my spring, winding spring back. There we go. And now I'll place back these 6 screws. Excellent. So that's it. That's pretty much all it takes for us, or for me, to properly resolve this issue with the capacitor on the bottom portion. All right, so just wanted to do this video to bring the awareness of the fact that replacing caps is not always a solution, and it's not the only solution, but you gotta properly clean this area to ensure that that chemical residue will not affect it in the short term or in the long term. All right, I'll thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.